Good evening. This is the Monday, June 3rd, Nominations and Appointment Committee meeting for the City of Reading. My name is Chris Miller, and I'm the counselor for District 6. Along with me is Counselor Vanessa Campos for District 1 and Counselor Wesley Butler for District 4. Tonight, we have two applicants. The first one will be Mr. Dennis Straub, who is here for a reappointment for the Animal Control Board, and both interviews will be held virtually tonight. And we will start with Mr. Straub. Good evening, Mr. Straub. How are you?
Good evening. I'm hanging in there.
Okay. I know you've been through this process before, since this is a reappointment, but for the people watching, we'll just have a short explanation of the process. We will take turns asking you different questions, and then when we're done, if you have any questions for us, you're free to ask. I'll start. Could you just explain to us and also to the people that are viewing the meeting what exactly the job of the Animal Control Board is?
Basically to regulate laws and oversee the enforcement and of the control of animals in the city of Reading.
Okay, thank you. And for the time that you've been on the board, could you just give a brief description of the things that you feel work well, and if there are some things that you feel would need some improvement?
Basically, we hold meetings usually twice a year. It depends on the circumstances, and I really think the improvement with the Zoom, the virtual attending a meeting, is a big improvement, especially in my case. I have a back problem, but so anyways, yeah, I think that's one of the biggest things I see is, that really came about because of the COVID, but I think it's a necessity, especially for people that can make it. Now, I'd like to see more input, basically from board members and from the city. I literally love animals, basically, and I don't want to see any of them being hurt or whatnot, and especially, the regulation of them or the enforcement of them. I think the only thing is the city don't have the money to do this, but I'd love to see more done as far as control of dogs with licensing, as far as the tie-in between that and the county. And I mean, it's just one of the things I'd love to see. I'd also love to see more done with trap, neuter, release as far as cats to control the multiplication of these animals, and I just don't like to see them being put down or hurt because of not being doing their deed as far as putting them out in the street when they move and stuff, and then the burden becomes a problem for the city and for the animal control. So that's what I'm trying to get my input and over the years, and just what I see or hear. I like to be informative to the board, and hopefully it goes back to the city. Hopefully that gives you somewhat insight.
Thank you. And your answer about the trap, neuter, and release, that was going to be my next question, because since I've been on council, I've made a point to acknowledge what a problem we have with the number of stray cats, especially. And you're absolutely right. I think a lot of people, they just let their pet loose into the wild rather than take the time to drop them off at the ARL. And I did have a meeting with the past director of the ARL to try and come up with a solution to this, but I think we all need to really look at that. I don't think people realize what a major problem that is in the city. Some do, but not everyone. But somehow we need to educate people. But thank you for making that comment.
Yeah,
I'm now going to
George,
move on to my fellow counselors.
Good afternoon, Dennis. Thank you for your interest in reapplying for the Animal Control Board. My question is, what has the board done well and what can they improve on?
what has worked well? That's your question?
Yes.
Basically, like I said, it's been a real, I mean, for people just to become members of the Animal Control Board, for one thing, to you don't, just over the years, I've probably been one of the most longest members of the board as far as the Animal Control Board, and people just, they don't stay for one thing, or their input, they don't feel it's viable, that they're, as far as being on the board, like that, maybe they don't feel like they're being heard. But literally, you need professionals to guide us and help with the input and the way the laws are. It's really sort of complex because you have to deal with the state laws, federal laws, on top of even the ordinances that you make within the city don't always hold up because of state regulation. So literally, we I do feel at times frustrated with the system, and because of the fact of the control and not having basically the enforcement, enough people or money is being spent to regulate or do the job that's needed to be done. That's where uh, I was happy to see Giorgio a few years back had donated, I think it was $3 million for the trap neuter release thing. And I think a lot of that money was squandered basically with the Humane Society because they controlled the money and ended up building a big building. But literally, if more businesses or if you could get more solicitations of maybe somebody would be able to support that program, with monies, I think would be a big help.
All right, thank you.
Hi, Dennis, Councilman Butler here. Thank you for wanting to serve again. My question is, and this may be out of the box, what is your stance on citizens feeding stray cats in the city?
Did somebody just ask me a question?
Yes, it's me. Can you hear me?
Not really. Is there a way of making the volume louder than what I was hearing the other people? I just don't understand.
Maybe.
Dennis, it's Shelley. He's
Yeah.
asking what your stance is on
Feeding stray cats.
residents who feed the outdoor cat colonies.
Oh, okay. Basically, I think we've tried to address that numerous times, and I mean, literally, I think under the law they have, people they think in if they take the food in at midnight or late, that's not left out, and when they feed them, they literally they do it for their colonies as far as their control, as long as they're sheltered and protected as far as that goes. Uh, I just can't see starving an animal myself if they're people who is willing to take care of them. But I'd love to see those same people try and do more as far as maybe and maybe they do get your animals adopted or that end of it. I don't see it as a major fining issue for somebody that does that, as long as they don't end up having to draw other animals in, leaving food out when they shouldn't, or if they're just taking care of that particular animals. I mean, that's my personal opinion on it, that they literally, animals need love and care and health issues. If they're trapped, neutered, if they've been spaded and neutered, that'd be part of that thing where they feed them. But if they aren't, and they can notify people. Maybe the more notice should go out to these individuals when they are caught or are feeding animals, that they realize they need to be neutered and spaded so that they don't multiply. I mean, literally, cats tend to have a purpose on the outside, even when they are out, that they keep the mice and rodent population down. I mean, that's the way I look at it.
All right, thank you. That was my only question.
Okay. I think that's all the questions that we have, and I think we can tell that you obviously are a true animal lover. That's good to hear. That's important for somebody who's on this board. Also important to me. I just adopted a rescue dog about a month ago, so animals are important to me too. But do you have any questions for us?
No, not really. Stay on as long as I can. Hopefully, to do my part to help the city. I always have for many years. I lived here in the city for my whole life. I'm going to be 77 this year, but I'll just, if need be, if you have somebody that needs to really place me and willing to do that, let me know. But until then, I'll just keep on going until I can't go anymore. And like I say, I do appreciate the Zoom part of this whole thing.
Very good. Shelley will now explain the rest of the process.
So we have other interviews to do this evening, and when they are complete, then the committee will discuss all of the applicants to determine if they'll move forward for council action. And you will hear from me by email with what their decision is and how we move forward from there. If they do recommend you, then you will be reappointed officially. You'll get notified of that, and you'll have to get re-sworn in.
Okay, so the swearing in is later on at some point?
Yes.
Okay. Do you
And
need
we
me to
can do
stick?
that by Zoom or by phone as well. You don't have to come in for that either.
Oh, okay. Do you need me to stick around for the rest of the meeting, or are we good?
Nope,
Nope.
you're good. Thank you
Okay.
for attending virtually, Mr. Straub, and have a good evening.
Well, you too. And like I say, good luck with everything.
Thank you.
All right. Bye. How do I log off?
There's a little button on the bottom that says leave this meeting. It's red.
Yeah, I'm not seeing it here, but
Or you
okay.
can close the internet. That'll take you out automatically.
Yeah, that's what I can do, I guess. Leave meeting.
It is all good.
Beauties of technology. Good evening, John.
Hi, everyone.
My name's Chris Miller. I'm counselor for District 6. Beside me is Counselor Vanessa Campos for District 1. And beside her is Wesley Butler for District 4. Welcome
Hi,
to the
hello, everyone.
nominations committee. We're going to ask you a couple questions. You're wanting to be appointed to the Animal Control Board. And
Yes, sir.
just relax. They're easy questions. When we're
Okay.
done, if you have any questions for us, you're free to ask us anything that you want to know.
Okay.
Before we start, I just want to say, at least to me, you're very well known as the dog walker. I think you're also well known as being an animal lover. I know. I see your post on social media for lost dogs up in District 4. So those are
Okay,
good things for someone who's applying for the Animal Control Board. My question to you is, can you give us an idea of what you feel your role will be on this board?
As far as my role, like, I can't join this board and just start going in the 110% of things that I want to do. I feel like, um, from what I gathered, I watched one of the meetings. From what I gathered, there's certain things that I would like to see implemented that I believe the state is in charge of, and that the state is not really getting involved with, like backyard breeding and Reading. Like everyone's telling me join that committee, everybody that I bring it up to, and I've really put some serious thought into it. And here I am. As for my role in the beginning, I'm going to try to just listen and learn and get to know everybody a little bit. I would like to try to implement some ordinances on backyard breeding. Right now, anybody can have a litter of dogs. Anybody can sell them on Facebook or wherever they want. And those dogs are going to the shelter. The shelter's maxed out. Dogs across the country are going into gas chambers. Dogs across the world are going to gas chambers. But I can't do anything about the world. I can't really do anything about the rest of the country, but maybe I can do something locally. So I'll have to figure out my role as time goes, but I would like to see the city be more involved in, you know, I know that the mission statement has to do with like the care and control, you know, and keeping humans and pets safe. But the control of the population, I would like to see the city involved with that. You probably are supposed to have a state permit for breeding. I'm positive you are, and you probably pay a couple $1,000s a year. I'm not sure the details on that. But what is the state of Pennsylvania doing to control breeding in the city limits of Reading, Pennsylvania? That's my question, really. And is everyone on the committee going to say, we can't do anything? That's the state's job. And then we'll dig a little deeper and find out, can we do something? So my answer to your question, the long answer short is, I do not know my role. I do not know my role yet.
Okay, well, you sort of answered it, even though you feel like you didn't know the answer, but obviously you have a
Yeah.
passion. You have a passion for animals, that's part of it.
Yeah.
Your response to just listen when you first would, if you are appointed, is also another good answer. But what I heard is that you're looking to see some changes if they're possible on the local level, and that's also a good answer. So you did answer the question. It's just, I think we just had to sort of read between what you were saying, but I think it's all
Okay.
good saying.
Okay.
It's all positive, so that's good. I'm gonna pass it on to my other counselors to ask some questions.
Okay.
John, Counselor Vanessa Campos from District 1, and thank you for your
Hi,
interest
Vanessa.
to the Animal Control Board. I can hear your excitement and enthusiasm to make the change. Are you familiar with the Animal Rescue League and the work that shelters provide?
Very much so.
Awesome. That was my only question. Right.
Okay.
Hey, John, it's Wesley. Nice to see you again.
Hi, Wesley.
Yeah, so you had answered the first question I had with the backyard breeding, and like you mentioned, I don't want to bring up the other issue that we talk about so much about, you know, what's going on with the state, how they control things. But my only question is, do you like ordinances that limit the amount of pets one can have in a household?
Do I like that?
Yes.
Did you say, do I like those ordinances? Yeah, I like freedom in general. And I don't like our government overreaching too much into our privacy. But when the things we do in our private lives endanger the community, there's a gentleman that you guys are probably familiar with that lives not far from me. I don't know how many huskies he has, but his huskies are out consistently. Last year, they killed a Chihuahua that an elderly individual was walking. And I just picture this elderly man like walking his dog and two huskies tearing it apart and killing it in front of it, and he's in court battles with the city apparently. And yeah, I believe the city, from what I saw, I watched one of the Zoom meetings of the animal control board, and you can get a permit to have more than the amount, whether it was 4 or 5 cats and dogs. Yeah, I believe that ordinance is good. This guy at one point, I counted 9 huskies on his porch. He doesn't walk them, according to neighbors. To my knowledge, he doesn't walk them. To my knowledge, I'm just using him as an example because it's 2 blocks from my house. The neighbors say he doesn't clean up the yard. The dogs are consistently out, sometimes 2-3 times in 1 week. Last time they were on Route 12, 2 of them were bleeding from their legs. Like, did he take them to the vet? It's just if you live on a farm in the middle of nowhere and want to have 7 huskies that can run around, whatever, you know what I mean? It's not, so yes, I support these ordinances, and not a bad idea to allow an extra cat or 2 if they're fixed and or kept in the house if you pay an annual fee or whatever. I saw there's something like that going on. So yes, I support an ordinance to limit the number of pets you have.
All right, thank you. That was the only question I had.
I think the thing we're seeing is that as the city of Reading evolves and as we're just seeing the way people treat animals differently than maybe we did 25 years ago. And so
there's a cultural difference also. I've got customers that yeah, go ahead. I just wanted to throw that in there. There's some major cultural, as the cultures of Reading have changed, there's some cultural differences in beliefs. And I've gone through multiple situations. Go ahead, I'm sorry.
I don't think it's necessarily a cultural thing, but the fact that we see that people feel it's okay just to let their pets loose if they move, the fact that people feel it's okay to breed large numbers of dogs in a highly congested urban area. I mean, the things that you're saying are true and they need to be addressed. They may not be on the books now, but there needs to be a conversation about them. And I think that's why it's important for people who have an open mind rather than, just the way some of the laws are now. We just need to see things evolve as the city evolves. So all your answers are really good. And I just wanted to comment when you were talking about the Huskies. I remember a couple years ago, I was coming up Buttonwood Street and somebody who obviously raised pit bulls, there were about 12 that got out and ran across the street in the traffic. And one of the people hit one of them and the person was really upset and they stopped their car. I mean, it was just chaos. So, we definitely need some kind of laws in place to deal with some of the things that are happening in the city right now. So, good conversation from you. I'm going to let Shelley explain what the process is from here on.
So after your interview is concluded, the committee will discuss the responses that you gave and will make a determination whether or not to recommend your appointment to the full body of council. If they do that, there will be a official action at the council voting meeting next week. And then you'll get a welcome packet from our office with some information, and I am the staff liaison to the Animal Control Board. So once you're on, you'll start hearing from me about meetings and information that you need to know. And I will send emails now that I have your correct email. I will send emails as your application goes through the process. So you'll hear from me pretty consistently.
Okay.
Did you have any questions for us?
Nothing really comes to mind. No, nothing really comes to mind.
Okay, well, thank you for appearing.
Thank you. Sorry I couldn't be there. I'm in between jobs right now. My Mondays are pretty chaotic, so
That's okay.
I'm at my next customer's house here. So thank you, everyone, and I look forward
Thank
to hearing from
Have
you
a
guys.
good evening.
All right, thank you. You too. Have a good day, guys.
Okay. Okay, conversation about the two, the reappointment and the appointment for the Animal Control Board.
I think they can, I'm in favor of both of them. Dennis is very knowledgeable, Don is very enthusiastic, and even though we meet twice a year, I can see, you know, when they do meet, hopefully, you know, it's productive with Jonathan's input, like a new member in there, to make some changes.
Both of them as well. John literally works with animals for a living. And having his own dog walking business, so this is what he does. And I definitely think he's passionate. Or be passionate to be a part of the board.
I agree, both Dennis for his knowledge of being an existing member on the board. And that's always important to make sure the board is balanced of new members and reappointed members. So you have a combination of somebody with knowledge and somebody coming on board, learning from the people that have knowledge. So there's a good balance. And John, as I mentioned, he has this reputation as John the dog walker. And he's always the one that is on the first dog search for the dogs that, you know, are found and trying to find the owner. So he obviously does have a passion for animals. He did bring up some really good points, which I wanted to acknowledge that, you know, he's absolutely right, that there are things that happened in the city that maybe the Animal Control Board didn't have to deal with 25 or 30 years ago, maybe even 10 years ago, that whether they can do something or not, a conversation needs to be started. So I definitely think he would be a good candidate just because of the things that he brought up. So I'm in favor of both also. So I think we're all in agreement.
Mhm.
So you can follow up to let them know, and then we will vote next week at council.
Correct.
All right. Number 2 on the agenda, appointment, reappointment recommendations.
You just did that.
Okay. Oh, I thought this was in addition. I'm sorry.
Oh, no, that was about the two that you've
Okay.
interviewed today.
That was part of one. I thought there was another part. The pending applications memo and board authority commission openings.
So you'll see the pending applications memo. There is one addition. We got a new applicant today for the redevelopment authority. So the interview for Kelly will happen during the committee of the whole tonight, but we will need to hold off on making a recommendation until after the new applicant gets through the process and gets an interview, since now there are 2 applicants for that spot. And there is only 1 vacancy.
And the reappointment for planning commission. Any idea when that will?
His background is in process. I hope to hear back from the last person tomorrow. And then he must go before the mayor.
Okay. All right. Thanks for keeping up with things, other than the Citizens Initiative Commission, which never seems to get off the ground.
B and I are posting one new board a week on Facebook to try and recruit more members.
Like you, we'll figure out. It's at least spreading.
Right.
Yeah, there may be a lag between when people see it and when they decide to apply.
So the Citizens Initiative Commission, because that's one. No. Two. Is it two from each district?
Yeah, I thought it was too.
I believe it's two. Let me see how many members it is. This was a council thing. There used to be a citizens advisory board that was supposed to act as a liaison between government and the neighbors, like the neighborhoods. That initial model didn't work out. So this is a redo of that, but it's the same concept where if someone from Center Park is appointed to the Citizens Advisory Board or the Citizens Initiative Commission, they could take ideas from the Center Park neighborhood and bring them to the meeting for the government to hear, to talk about a new or a changed initiative, and then would take the response to that back to the community. So they would be kind of a go-between or a liaison between the neighbors and the elected officials.
It's sort of like what was popular in the 50s and 60s with the ward captains,
Kind of, yes.
similar.
And the Park and Recreation Advisory Board used to function that way as well. Each playground has a representative on the advisory commission, and then they would take information back to the playground association. So it's kind of a similar model.
When did that? With the playgrounds?
I'm gonna guess in the late 80s or early 90s. There were fewer playground associations, and so that just kind of fell away until the Recreation Commission was created.
I asked because it may be redundant. If I might say, I don't know, I feel as, like we say, it's like block catching. Like I think from the council being in each district, like we're voice that come to the city and we'll reach out to the different departments, and whoever we need to reach out to get a message across. And I'm trying to figure out if it's redundant to have a board that's kind of doing the same thing, or when we have citizens that already are calling our departments, or we're telling them to reach out different ways. So I don't know if you're getting what I'm saying.
I think it's more for the neighborhoods to communicate amongst themselves first, because if you have somebody from District 1 and somebody from District 4, and District 1 is talking about Hamden Boulevard, and District 6 is talking about Center Avenue, and they have the same issue with traffic, they're a greater voice. But the only thing I can relate it to, like in District 6, Center Park has a director for the neighborhood. And the sixth ward does have a person who sort of spearheaded the block party, so they've sort of become the voice for the neighborhood. And so it makes it easier rather than the neighbors to come to the councilors. It's more of a casual way to get issues brought forward. And I think that's what it's supposed to do, not like sometimes people feel like, you probably get the calls, I do, where I hate to bother you, but, because they feel it's not that big of an issue, but it is. I mean, all things need to be addressed. So this would be a way that it would sort of be organized on the neighborhood level, and then if it was something that needed to be addressed by councils or the city, it could come forward. But I think it's a way to get everybody on the same page. But as we found since COVID, it seems like nobody has time to volunteer for anything. All service organizations and churches and everybody else are sort of suffering from people not wanting to get involved.
And I feel like the people who are involved in our past that are caught up in certain boards and organizations, that's
Right.
That's usually how it is, yeah.
I think that's wrong as well. It's like, we'll have youth commissioner, it's sort of like, I can't do this meeting because I got book club at Brandon High and I gotta go to,
I'm in dance club, I'm a cheerleader, yeah,
it's like we're all fighting for the same people.
right.
And that may be what I think it is when it comes to our boards, authorities, and commissions, but the ones that are vacant all the time. So,
So the citizens initiative is speaking, is there any?
Launched after it was created.
I don't think the public has been educated.
So, yeah, and the counselor who brought this forward's term was ending as the legislation passed, so he didn't have a chance really to finish what he was working on. But I will send to all three of you the link to the code about this commission so that you can read what the intent was. And I can add that as an agenda topic for the next meeting, so you can talk about it a little more fully.
I agree, or what, Councilor Butler is mentioning about a bit redundant, because Councilor Miller said there's the director in, city, in, Center Park. And then there's is it G, I forget what his name is, in the sixth ward, Gully. So they are already taking that initiative upon themselves and doing it without having to be part of a commission. And that kind of happens throughout the city, not as consistent. I feel
Right.
like this is an opportunity for people to join and come together, but if it's not being used for the past, I'm gonna say, what's 6 years, 2017.
Well, it hasn't been used only because we haven't had someone actively, like when the youth commission was created around the same time as the Citizens Initiative Commission, but it didn't that one didn't launch either until a new counselor took it upon herself to go out in the community and start pulling people in so that we had enough to launch that one. And so that's what has not happened yet with the Citizens Initiative Commission. There hasn't been someone dedicated to pulling in, the people that can launch it.
And sometimes that's like, for the youth commission, that was Lucine, correct?
Correct.
And Lucine's like, she automatically thought of how many kids.
We
Yeah.
had a lot when she was in. She was actively
And
getting people. Yeah.
Very.
And she was the council liaison at the time as well, so.
I think, on the one hand, communication goes into the neighborhoods through the council and through the state rep senators for community meetings, but it's the person in the community that helps to get the word out to come to the meetings because they're in the community. And That's important because they know,
So she's so dynamic.
right?
and
She knows who to,
All of that. But even with her passion and, drive, she still has to, dare I say, micromanage these people because they need somebody.
reminders.
Yeah.
Everybody needs a reminder.
You don't have a list of things to give your mate to do. He just doesn't realize there's that much to do. Do you know what I mean? So I feel like if she's not on top of it, and that's micromanaging. You know what I mean? She's good at it.
Right,
Good at
but
it.
I think, when you look at certain neighborhoods, like they have that person
Right.
who
Yeah,
sort,
correct,
and some neighborhoods don't. And they're the neighborhoods that are hard to like
correct.
get the people together and say, okay, we're gonna have a meeting. I think it's sort of that bridge between like local government and people where it's the same thing, like when you have an event and everybody says, I'm gonna wait till I have a chance to talk to somebody, how it goes.
Right, right.
It's that,
They do have a real desire to be a part of something. But if you're not constantly saying, okay, well, the next meeting is this,
right,
they just kind of fall, that enthusiasm.
it's not a priority.
It's not stable.
So who's the council liaison for this commission?
I don't know that we've named one because it's inactive.
So which one should come first? That council liaison?
Yeah,
Or
I
the
guess
members that are-
whomever it feels the need to, get this going. Or who has a lot of contacts in different neighborhoods. You kind of want someone from everywhere so that it's not all heavily one district or another, which is why each counselor gets, an appointment. Or a recommendation for an appointment, I should say.
I just wonder and this is a good discussion, I know we're going a little bit into it, but it's things that, there's just things I can think about, speaking it out loud, exchanging thoughts, kind of helps us picture, where's the issue, how can we change moving forward? I wonder how the Citizens Initiative Commission and the Youth Commission, like, one is the youth, one is the citizen. But if the Youth Commission is struggling with timing, with, attendance, I don't want it to, like, I wouldn't want it to translate with the citizens initiative. Because it could seem like once it gets launched somewhere along the lines.
My hope was always that as the youth commissioners aged out, they would become members of the Citizens Initiative. That was always my
That makes
hope
sense.
for that. It hasn't worked out yet because everyone that's aged out has left the area. Yeah, so, I was assuming that once they finished college and, do all that, they would stay here and they're launching elsewhere. So that part of it hasn't worked out either, which is the way I was hoping that we'd feed into one from the other.
I didn't know that, I think that would make sense.
Yeah. That would be great.
Yeah, I haven't had anybody do it yet though.
I just don't know, there's so many. That would have to balance this, but if they stay locally, it's just.
Right.
Right.
These commissions board can decide when they want to meet, doesn't have to be weekly. if they want to.
Correct. Yeah.
Right.
So
Would be quarterly,
we'll
Can-
keep our
can-
fingers crossed.
can we work on like fairly detailed description of what's involved and really try to market it and see what happens,
Okay.
just to see if there's any interest.
How many members are on?
11.
So it shows here the mayor needs to do 3, there's 2 council liaisons and then 1 from each district.
One.
Who came up with 11?
The counselor at the time who drafted the legislation. So it's,
Thinking that's a lot.
I am.
yeah, that was kind of modeled so that we, like I said, there would be someone from each council district to give representation to all six, rather than it being too heavily, there's certain neighborhoods where you have an abundance of people who are willing to volunteer, and then there are other neighborhoods where no one volunteers, whether it's because they don't understand they have the opportunity to, or, however that works, but there seems to be pockets where there's lots of people, and then others where it's difficult to get members.
Correct me if I'm wrong, I think for fire and police, it was like either 4 or 5 seats,
The civil service boards, those are 3 seats each.
3 seats. And because it's on 3, like it's easier to just get it filled, but then also I feel like it may create more demand and, hey, I better get my paperwork in because there's only 3 spots open.
Right,
I mean, it's-
right, and that's why I said I'll provide the link to the code for you all to read exactly about this commission, and then, I'll make that a specific agenda item for next time, so we have time to dedicate to it. You all can recommend as many amendments to that as you'd like. It's not something that has to stay static.
Yeah. Okay. I was just thinking, as we were speaking before, Councilor Rattler mentioned about the numbers. Even if there's like a surplus of people interested in one district, doesn't mean, in my mind, that they cannot reach to neighboring districts.
Correct.
And kind of do that,
Mhm.
because I would want active, involved people than kind of like shoving, and then like here, and that there's not really, they're not active. Like, I don't see why someone that's, from a district and they're ready, they can kind of, hey, let me give District 2 a call, let me reach out. I don't see them not doing that. Like, they're
Right.
able to reach out. Or kind of
Right. And each district has multiple neighborhoods. So, you have to look at that part of it too, just because it's District 1, you have 5, 6, 7 different neighborhoods in District 1,
I
so.
feel we want somebody representing, a district, but, if there's a desire, like, more of a desire in District 2, like 5 people, and they want to really be a part of this, I don't see why we should limit that.
And like you said, like the language we can.
I just feel like
Yeah, we can look at that.
some districts don't have that enthusiasm.
I think it may not be enthusiasm, it may just be time.
Right.
It's not a priority. Job, children.
Mhm.
So there might be some flexibility there just to get it up and going.
Mhm.
And then once some people need to see things happening, so they go, I want to be part of that, we're gonna get that, but if we don't get that momentum and that movement, I don't know what they do, like, it doesn't sound like they do anything, but we need to get something started, and like you said, then we can amend it later on and then just strictly make it how we want to make it. It has potential.
Okay,
Okay,
Can I ask a question?
yes.
Do you mind? I understood, but you're talking about the Charter Review Commission.
no,
Oh,
the
yes.
Citizens Initiative Commission.
So it's 2 2 council liaisons.
2 council liaisons, 1 citizen from each council district, and then 3 citizens chosen by the mayor. So it's an 11-member board.
So very much similar to the Charter Review Commission.
And,
That's
and
11.
the youth commission is set up similarly, where
Okay.
they have different district appointments, mayor appointments, it's
Right.
similar, but it's one's towards the youth and one's any adult.
Is it up and running now, the citizens?
No, we don't have anyone we don't have enough people who've applied to reach quorum, so they've not had any meetings.
And the purpose of the citizens initiative is to bring recommendations to the council?
It's to act as a liaison between the neighborhoods and the elected officials.
Like ward conference.
Okay.
Anything else?
Nothing from me.
I don't see the charter review commission here. We don't know.
That's temporary, so I
Okay.
don't put it in.
Okay,
That's
so
every
that's
so
fine.
many years. Yeah, it's time to impanel one, but that's not, those are the ones that are standing.
There's that.
Right.
The work will be-
Okay.
so there you go.
Yeah. True, too.
Anything else? Motion to adjourn? Wes?
Yeah.
Is
I
that
don't
a-
forget what to say when.
Oh,
Say what I-
so moved.
Why do you want to say? Think of the way it's so-
You typically say you.
Meeting is adjourned.